Today we are going to touch on how to make an explosion inside of Houdini. To begin, what we want to do is to drop in a sphere. And then first thing you want to do after that is to scale it. You want to shape it the right way. You want to make it roughly the kind of shape that you would expect your explosion to be. Which, for our case, you want it to be kind of wide in the center and long, because this is the object that your pyro is going to be emitting from. And it's going to kind of want to have an oblong sort of shape. You can mess with it any way you want. It varies. It's just you want it to have something similar to. I guess this is kind of like a kayak or surfboard, something like that. Now then, once you got your shape down, then what you want to do is, just for cleanliness, let's call this our emitter. Then with your emitter selected, come up here and you want to click on explosion or fireball. Let's see which one would be better for this. Haven't done fireball in a while. Let's try out that one. Then let's jump up ahead a few frames. A couple more. Hop over to render view to see what this actually looks like. Hit render. And that just looks like smoke, so let's jump back a few. Okay, so we have a rough idea of how it is working. Once inside, let's check up on everything. Go to max bounds. You want to make sure this is checked off. What that just did is that it enabled our bounding box that we have here to move with the simulation. While with this on is it clamps it to this exact box size, and anything that touches it just moves with the inside the box, and it doesn't allow it to move outside and expand. While with this unchecked, it gives it that freedom that it needs to rise. Now inside of our pyro, let's set our division size to 0.2. Size, let's just do 1520. 15, just to keep it clean, and center, keep it 7. That should be fine. What these do is they allow you to see different things, like click here and it shows us that is the vector field for the velocity. It allows you to visualize it. Heat, there's nothing for that. Collision, well, there wouldn't be any collision source. That's just going to be down there. Fuel we have to enable, and temperature. And density. Okay. Over in our pyro solver, let's increase our buoyancy lift. If you hover over it, it will define what the buoyancy lift does. It does that for everything, and a lot of this you just look up on your own, where you just hit the F1, wait for that to actually kick in, and now it's kicking in. Okay, why are you doing this? Pyro solver. This is just coming up on the other one. click on Pyro Solver, and normally when you hit F1 it brings up this exact page, but it's not doing that anymore. So for us, we want to go down to buoyancy lift, and here's buoyancy lift, and it tells you what the buoyancy lift controls. So let's just set our buoyancy lift to 2. Now I'm not trying to dive into, we don't need any viscosity because this is not liquid. And this just tells you the direction that the buoyancy is going to go. So this is X, Z, this is Y. And we only want it in Y because we want this to go vertical. Now under combustion, as it shows here, we have our ignition temperature, which is wanting it fairly low. Well, let's decrease our burn rate to, let's start out at 0.5, fuel efficiency. Fuel inefficiency more or less creates the smoke, so we want a little bit of that. Temperature output, let's put it at 0.5. Gas released. Let's see if we should change that. Let's leave that. Increase this to 2. And let's advect some fuel. Let's do it 0.25. This could get interesting. Over in shape, dissipation. Let's keep that. Increase that to 0.25, dissipation of 0.75, and shredding of 0.45. Let's go back, reset, hop back to 47, wait for it to finish its calculations. Yeah, 36 should be more than enough for us. Alrighty. Hop over. Why is everything staticky? Sure why, but let's try this again. Okay, 1 second while I figure out this. What the hell is going on? Okay. Let's figure this out. Let's take off the fuel. Maybe that was it. Render it. Yeah, the fuel was too high, so it wasn't behaving. So now let's evict fuel back in. This time do a 0.02. See if it likes that much better. 35. That's frame 35. Render view. Really nicely. Go back. So okay. Behavior's looking fairly nicey. Now let's put this back up to 0.7. That's probably going to be a little bit too much. But that's just what you're doing right now, is you're just testing out values just to see how they behave. Okay, now we're getting some behavior, kind of getting to the shape that we want. And one thing we want to do is you want to hop into our camera. Here's our camera parameters. Let's view. Here's what we want. Background image. Select. And whenever you're working with Pyro, you want to throw it into a background that's similar to what you're going to be compositing into. I took the privilege of finding one. That one it. Could be. Let's see. Nope. Wrong one. Here we go. Right one. Yeah, you do this so that way you can also see where the smoke is and what the flame is. Now, put on a low confinement. You want turbulence because, well, this is smoke, so you need that. Shredding of 0.2, let's see, and turn disturbance down to 0.5, and dissipation down to 0.02. Let's see what that changes for us. Nope, do not want that. .25 might be a bit much. Test you out again. Right now you just stick with this until you find a decent shape you like. Dissipation of 0.2. Nah, let's keep this at 0.75. Okay, that's looking better. Let's try disturbance at 0.8. Shredding. Let's try this at 0.5. Okay. Might be fine. Now that let's say this is good behavior. So make sure this is open. Let's enable OpenCL. That's something you use only if you have a really good graphics card. which I got a 1080, so I'm good. And now then, hop over to our material palette, select our material. By default, when you create Pyro, by default it creates a shader called Fireball. If you have no material here for whatever reason, you just go into your palette here, scroll down to where it's volume, because Pyro is considered a volume, and choose Fireball. Click on it, and here's where you control shape. But for now, since we just want to focus on the fire only, let's go to smoke field and make the scale 0. That will disable the smoke so we can focus solely on the flames for now. Now, let's increase this to 3. Makes it a little bit more intense, easier to see with as well. Let's increase this to, let's keep it the same scale, so 6. You can see it makes it a bit more intense. That's probably a bit too hot. Now we're getting more into flames, so looking pretty good. Let's see what 1500 does. 12, 250. That's like nothing. 500, 900. $9K. Okay, now we're just getting wide. 5K. Let's go with 350. No. There. Burn of 5. Oh, that's a bit much. Okay, so looking fairly good. Now let's see what we can do here. Don't really want that. let's say we like this. This is more or less a campfire kind of fire. Enable our smoke field once more. As you can tell, these all do different things, so it's just test them out, seeing what works for us. For us, we need to find something. And it's a bit much for fire. Keep it at 3 for the moment. Let's make our smoke field really tense. Now, we got that all done. Let's do like a playback every few frames. Okay. What we got here is not so much of a realistic fire, but more or less of something that's similar in style to cell shading, or something that you would find like in a video game, which for all intents and purposes is good. Now let's see if that looks any better. Okay, that's good. Let's keep that at 5. Make this a little higher on this side. Might be a bit much. A little bit more natural now, it's more in the yellow hue. Adaptation of 0.5. Take you back to 0.2. Burn of 0. Back to more of the orange hue. Let's do a burn of 9. Wait, too high. 5. Still too much. 2. Getting closer. 1. Let's do an in between. Shadow density 2. That should be fine. Now, shadow density is 3. Density scale of 1. It's too little. 2. Let's do an in-between of 0.45. Let's do 0.35. Let's go with that. Shadow density of 9. Yeah, that can stay fine. Put you over to Gaussian. keep you like up. That's a new one. Let's just stay here for and see if I can work with that. Okay. Now that we have our explosion, what we need to do next is to render it out. To do that, we hop into our out. Let's just call this our mantua. Make it easier on naming conventions. Got our camera, render sequence. Do we need all 240? So we'll just stop it at 100. Delete the channel, tell it to go to 100, and stop. And we want our section. Let's go with renders. Pyro. Demo. Pyro. Dot. Sign OS. OS. Dot. $. Frame padding of 4. Dot EXR. Accept. For file name, open EXR. Extrude image planes. And we don't really need that. Rendering. Macro polygon, physically based. Let's make this 6 by 6. Gamma 2.2 is good. Let's make max rave samples. Let's do it 0.09. Oh, wrong section. Make this 30. Actually, let's keep it in the 9, so 24. Make this one 0.09. Volume quality 0.5. Let's make it a little more. That. everything looks good. So before we do anything, let's save this scene. D scenes, new demo, new Pyro. Demo underscore Pyro underscore 001 dot hip. But we want this to be hip and C, accept, render. No, we aren't doing that way. But before anything else, let's just do a test render. And see what this looks like before we do a whole batch of these. Got a little bit of a white cloud there, not looking too promising on that. But let's load in a background. Got it really white, so let's see if we can fix that. Back to our materials. Try this again. Persisting, so let's take density down to 1, see if it's density. Just like before, trial and error. Nope, not density. Set our file scale. Nope. Set our shadow. Nope. Okay, now we know it is the smoke then that is causing this. So if we increase the smoke, it's a whole lot more. So let's keep this 1 under smoke, density scale of 0.5, smoke brightness of 0.2. Smoke should not be gray, but black. Actually, let's go with a dark gray. this frame. Okay, that's looking good. Now just turn you back just a hair to 7. Yeah, we want to keep that like that. Now just make this 2200. And now render sequence. We know this is going to take a little while, so let's stop this. This is too small. Let's make this bigger. Out. Our render camera. Override camera resolution. Specified 1280-720. That's good. Now we got the right size. Now, just like before, render to disk. And this time, I'm going to pause us since this will take a little while. Alright, now let's see what it looks like now that we got all of our 100 frames. Looking okay. Now let's throw in a background so we can see the smoke. Load background, go to our desktop again, choose it, reset, and play. Now, the behavior of it looks fairly good, but one thing we'll want to do is go back in and we need to make the smoke less dense because this is not a gas tanker, so smoke naturally is not this black, this thick. It's more of a mid to dark gray, and it's probably semi-transparent, so maybe 50 to 60, maybe 75% transparent. I mean thick, so it has maybe 50 to 25 transparency, depending on how clustered it is. Then we'll want to go back in and touch up on the color of the flames a little bit because it's a bit too intense. Because stuff will be like this color and this bright if it's night, but this is a day scene, so it'll be less illuminant. So we'll want to touch that up again. So just hop back over here. Then for here, probably something around there should be fine. Actually, goes a bit more.
this out, see where we are. Looks looking fairly well, but let's make it a little bit. Actually, nah, 3 was fine. Fire intensity of 2. Both of these 4. Then for the color of you, let's see, what was 15 again? Okay, so 35 and 4. 45. Not doing points. That's way too hot. Let's see, 45 and 5. Let's go with 4K. Let's just do 4250. Try that out. And now that we got that, let's hop to a different frame. $3K. Okay, that's looking much better. Okay, so now that we've got something that looks fairly realistic, and if this was to be our background, what we would do is we would duplicate this, roto this part here all out, so that way we could put our fire here, anywhere along up here, so that way you can have the pyro explosions going on up here, multiple of them, and just probably place the origin, the sources, just right along this ledge here, so that way when it explodes it goes all up here in these areas. Or if you want, you can have it over here, or you can have it over here. Just whatever area you have it in, just rotate it out, so that way you can just have it start like right here, and then it'll go woohoo, fire. And then you'll have a fairly decent composite of your power explosion, and then just shade or tint it if you need to have it blend and look more realistic and natural. And that will conclude how to make power explosions.